Hello again. I went to the charity shop this morning and I picked up quite a few pieces of jewellery because I used a lot of my stash over the last few weeks for my planners and for the tatty journals. And I do love taking jewellery apart. I prefer to buy second-hand or vintage because it's not as wasteful. Obviously I do buy new charms and beads when I need to, but I do like buying jewellery like this. So I think this probably cost me about 18-ish pounds, but I did get a loads and loads, and I always say to them, they kind of know me in there, and I just said just throw it in a bag, don't worry about sorting it out, because I kind of enjoy doing that. So the reason I bought this is because I just love this little watering can. Can you see? That's so cute. And these are really heavy. So I mean, I wouldn't say this is obviously quite a new piece of jewelry, and it's not the best quality, but the chain is really strong and it's probably perfect for making a heavy duty charm because it is so strong and the links are so big. And buying chain is actually not cheap at all. So what I do is I just have a little look and decide what I want to do. The jump rings on these, if you can see, are kind of tiny. They're probably not very strong. See, that literally just comes off. So I'm going to chuck that in there, and that's charm number 1 ready to use on something. Now, this is an additional kind of, oh, hang on a minute. Ah, right. So these are all held on using small lobster claws. Let's have a little look whether that's big enough. It's actually a really small gap to try and get off this larger chain. Let's see if I can get it off. I'm going to put that one to the side for a minute. Let's see if I can try another one actually. That's quite cute. Look, little straw hat. But I won't spend too much time trying to salvage these pieces. That's actually completely solid. That's not going to open. So what I'll do is I just take my jewellery cutters and I will cut off. So there's the charm, and I will also cut off the jump ring that's going to be hanging on that chain and getting in my way. And sometimes it's easier to take these things apart than others, so that's how I'm going to go about taking this one apart. There's some fluff in here too, free fluff. So, you know, so much stuff is wasted and goes into landfills, and when we buy something new, you know, the only place I can really buy beads and things like that is Hobbycraft. And if you're in the UK, you're probably pretty similar. I can get things off Amazon and, you know, off Tinternet. But lots and lots and lots of other people will also have that stuff. So that's how I'll go about taking that one apart. This one is, I would say, pretty vintage. It's a pretty old piece. These beads are plastic. They're not glass beads. But again, this is a really good piece of chain. And if I wanted to buy chain, it's, you know, it's not gonna be cheap. This is not cheap, but it's better quality than I would get if I purchased from somewhere like Hobbycraft. So the other thing I always keep are the lobster claws that come with these. If I can just show you. So I will keep that. That's a fairly hefty ring on there as well. That's a really good one. So I can hang something straight off of this. Lobster claws are something that I do tend to buy new. In actual fact, I just lied to you yet again, because this one is actually no good. If you can see, there's a gap. So that one's no good. I'll bin that one and put that outside. This piece, this was a pretty expensive piece, but I really liked some of the charms on this one. They're really heavy, really nice. Look at that. And to buy new beads that look like this, you know, that's not going to be cheap. I mean, that would have to go on, you know, you could make another piece of jewellery out of that. Look how gorgeous that is. So unfortunately, this type of chain I don't use. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut the jump ring either side of this chain. This is not the kind of chain that I can reuse. So I'm just going to cut that off. Like so. And that lobster claw is in perfect condition. So this one, I can use that again. And then I'm hoping, now the end is off, these will simply slide. No, they won't. So I'm going to need to cut this end piece off. That's okay. So I'm going to slide those into my other box. And then I'll show you some of the beads that I've taken off here. Okay. There is a really nice selection on here. So that's really cute. And these are not going to be, not everyone is going to be making charms with these pieces, because it's not something that I picked up in Hobbycraft, and I like that. I like that, not, you know, not everybody is going to have those. The spacer beads, they've got quite a nice hole in, so these would be really nice tied to the bottom of a piece of sari silk for a closure. But this piece is probably a little bit bigger than I would use on a charm, maybe. So what else have I got? This one, I just loved the colour of these shell buttons. That one I'm not going to take apart because, well, I will, but not on camera, because I can just tell in advance that they are, oops, sorry, these little tiny beads will go absolutely everywhere once I cut that thread. Again, it's got a decent lobster claw on there, so I'll keep that one. So this kind of jewellery, let's have a look at this one. This is quite a big, piece. It's got lots of strings. So, and it's also a bit of an unusual closure that just hooks like so. So that's quite nice. Now what I do is I'm just going to check. So here, these have links in that are connected to one another. So all of these beads are connected to one another. So if I cut this, that bead is just going to fall off and I've lost that piece. So what I will do is take my round nose pliers and just unhook that, take that off, and then I'm going to close that up again. Okay, so that's now closed again. So this is now a piece of chain that I can use. Now what I would do is I would take pieces probably about that length, and this would make the basis of quite a good charm and a nice bead at the bottom. So obviously again, I don't want to cut that, so I will undo that loop at the bottom of that bead, unhook that section, and then I'm going to reclose that bead. I'm very close to the camera and I'm a bit heavy breathing. So I do apologise if I'm breathing really loudly into the camera. So there you go. And that is the perfect start to a charm dangle. And then of course you can add further bits. So I would attach that to here, maybe, to, you know, make that even more beautiful. And I also, like I said, I also do add a lot of charms, which come from all over the place, Amazon, Etsy. Let's see if I can. Sometimes it's a little bit fiddly to work out which way round you need to open this loop when they're fairly well made, but you can usually do that. So this is not really a tutorial, this is just basically I'm showing you what I do and telling you why I do it, really. Anything that stops things going into the landfill. There you go, and that's another length for another charm. So that's what I do with this type of thing. When they are linked like that, I take them apart so I don't lose too much. Now here, this one is slightly different because I'm not particularly worried about these little, you see these little ball links here. So what I would do to make life easy for myself is take that, cut that link in between, which is very easy to come off. And let's cut, I could undo that, but I'm not going to in this case just because we're filming. I'm just going to cut that jump ring. And there is, I would use this maybe as a secondary piece because it's slightly smaller. So I might hang that alongside that one. Okay. So that's how I'd go about taking that apart. So this one, I think, is a bracelet. Let me just undo that. Oh, no, that's unhooked. Okay, this, if you want to make yourself a charm and you are not brilliant at using jump rings, or you don't have the supplies, buying things like this is great because you can absolutely just attach those like so. You don't have to do anything. That's a charm ready-made. If you have a few jump rings and a few supplies, you could just add a few more charms to that. Now, I would use this again as probably a main piece, but I would take a lot of these off. So I've got more chain and less charms, and then that gives me extra beads. And all I do is literally the same as I did when I took that other necklace apart. I would take my round nose pliers, get that in there, undo the bead. These were not perfectly joined anyway because they're quite long, and then I would close that up, and then that's kind of ready to just go onto a jump ring and onto another piece, another charm. So that's what I'd do with this one. What else do I have? This one is solely for the beads. This one here. There are some gorgeous glass beads on here, and they are on a wire. They're not on a cotton. This is a wire. So you would need wire cutters for this one. So I will cut the wire and then slide the beads off. It takes a little bit of work sometimes because they may well be, you know, like this one, for example, all 3 pieces of the wire go through that bead. Sometimes the thin wire is actually harder to get off. So, you know, I'd get myself some different beads, easily to just, you know, pull those off, put them in my pot and build up my stash of beads. So that's all that's left of that one. What else do I have? Oh, I love stuff like this. I use these as kind of, again, secondary pieces to add to other pieces. Now this one, it's wire that's wrapped at the end of a bead and then held together with a jump ring. Now I might leave maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 on here, and this particular one, what I probably would do is use the jump ring to take these apart, because these jump rings look pretty good and I don't like to waste anything. So I hope you can see what I'm doing. got the light on as well because, oh, it's a proper winter day here today. It's windy, it's dark. So I would take that jump ring, open that up, and I'll slide one side out and then do the jump ring back up. Okay, and you know, I would go along and do 2 or 3 lengths like that. So that's how I will deal with that one. This one again, there's some thin chain here, and that's really good to hang small beads off to add onto a, you know, as a secondary string on your charms. Really nice lobster claw clasp, so you know, that will be salvaged. I'll keep that. And then again, this one is all linked together, so I would just work out how many. I would probably divide this into 3, pick where I'd separate them, and exactly the same again, undo one of those loops, unhook that piece and do that loop back up. So that is now kind of ready to add extra charms and things to. I really love these little green ones on here. And then this piece of chain, what I do is I'll just take that last link and cut that. If I have these the right way around, it might actually work. And then that piece of chain, I will absolutely use that. That's not going in the bin either. So that will be salvaged. This one, as a rule, I'm not a huge fan of gold chain. I do use it if it needs adding. This was a piece of, I'm not quite sure how this was supposed to work. Oh, is it a bracelet? Maybe it's a bracelet. Yeah, there you go. That's a bracelet. So there's 2 lengths of charm here, but I really, 2 lengths of chain even. I really like these beads. Now they are all held on with a rather small, feeble looking jump ring, and I will cut those. They are very small. They may be strong, but they're quite, you know, they're going to be a little bit fiddly for me to try and open and then close again. So these particular ones I'm just going to cut off like so. And then there I have another charm, which is a little bit different and unusual and ready to go on a charm. I think that's everything in here for today. I need to just continue to cut these off. This one, like I said, I'll probably find a pot. Some of them are broken, but I will cut them and I'll keep all the little tiny beads, and these will probably go onto some bulb pins or garment pins. I'm pretty sure they'll fit, but you know, nothing will get wasted. Everything will be used. All of this chain will be used. This particular one, what I would probably do with this, looking at the jump rings on this, these are they look quite sturdy. So these ones I will probably use my tools and take these off and reuse them. So I'll use the chain for something and then I will use the beads separately. That's it. Then what I do is sit in the evening and make these charms like this one, and that's a lobster claw. That actually, these lobster claws are not salvaged. These are ones that I got from Chatty Elaine. Hi Elaine, who's probably cringing because she's a jewellery maker and absolutely fantastic. So these were gifted to me from Elaine. But what I've done is I've mixed beads up. So this was a bead from one necklace and this was a bead from another necklace, and I've added those. I've then added a little charm on there. This one is as is. This was a little bracelet, but I just loved these. I think are they freshwater pearls? I just love that. So that was added. This was a longer piece of that necklace. Bracelet, I think it was like 3. You can see the links. I've left the links there where it was joined, 2 or 3 links together. I haven't added a chain to this because it's quite delicate. This one was a much thicker kind of chain, so I've added a leaf charm on there, and I've also added, this was another piece from a different piece of jewellery. So that one's quite simple. What else have I got? This one, I love this one. So this one was a beaded, this was huge. This was the biggest pearl necklace I think I'd ever seen in my life. So I cut loads of pieces of that. Well, I didn't cut them, I unlinked them all. I've popped a little heart at the bottom of that piece. This one was part of a bracelet, and again, this one I didn't take too much off of. I just kind of liked that as it was. It's quite dangly. This piece here, this was the length of chain from one piece, and I've attached this second piece here and then this third piece there because I really loved that. So this one I haven't added any charms to as yet, apart from this piece at the bottom. Oh, and I did add actually this, that was added as well. That's a little charm. So these ones are very simple. This one is a little bit more, I've put a few more charms on this one. So this one, this was one piece, and I've added a different bead at the bottom. I've added this little piece here, which was from a different necklace. I've added this gorgeous charm that I got from the lovely Mrs. Cog. Thank you, Liz. I've added a key, and I've added a couple of beads. And the reason I did that on this piece is because this is quite a hefty piece, and I know it can take some charms. It's quite a nice sturdy piece. Then we've got another piece here, and I've added another charm at the bottom of that. And then this piece, I've added this additional piece of chain here and this charm, because this piece came off another piece of jewellery. I've added an extra bead at the bottom there and a charm here, this one, and this again was from the lovely Liz. And this piece of chain was also added with a piece of the, I think it's a shell, I'm not really sure. So yeah, that's how I put them together, and I just think these ones are particularly simple, but they're just fabulous. I just love taking all of this apart. I think it's really therapeutic. So anyway, there we go. Just bored you with my taking jewellery apart. I just want you to just look for things that you can save from the landfill and that look pretty, and that not everyone's going to have them. Yeah, I told you I'd be back again today. Thanks for watching, and I will see you again. Bye.